The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. This is a quote from Paradise Lost by John Milton. Nothing can be more true for Anirudh Das from Kolkata, India. In the pursuit to make a heaven of his own life, he made life hell for many others. Hi and a very warm welcome. You are listening to Crime Tales. I am Subbu. Case 2, Killer on the Run. Park Street, Kolkata, the year 2007. A spate of robberies were reported in many residential flats of the area. The police was all at sea to nab the gang that was executing these robberies. Over a month, and 7 robberies were reported. Was it one gang that was operating, or more than one? A similarity in the modus operandi was noticed, and despite a strict vigil, the perpetrators were still at large. Matters turned grievous and serious when in one such robbery, a life was snuffed out. Pallavi Das. A 26-year-old young woman working in a bank was killed in a flat. It was a broad daylight robbery cum murder. And it happened on the day when Pallavi and her husband, an IT professional, 27-year-old Anirudh Das, were to leave for Shimla on their honeymoon. When Anirudh Das finished work at his office and returned home, he found the main door open. Pallavi had taken off for the day from her work to pack things. I rang the bell but found the door open. I could sense that something has happened. I walked in and then... Anirudh breaks down as he narrates what he saw when he returned home. Walking in, he found things in disarray at his flat. In the bedroom, he was shocked to find his wife Pallavi lying dead on the floor, strangulated to death. The murder altered the gravity of the situation. The press came down heavily on the police department for letting things go out of hand. Inspector Amitabh Mukherjee, leading the investigations, was also under pressure as the failure of his team to nab the robbers had now resulted in a gruesome murder. I do accept that we failed in nabbing these robbers in time, but I assure you that we will move heaven and hell to find them and make them face the law for Pallavi's murder. I plead with you all to be a little calm and not spread panic amongst people. We will get these killers and ensure such a thing doesn't happen again. Amitabh addresses the press that's now holding the law enforcement agencies responsible for letting this murder happen. But there was going to be a shocking discovery at Pallavi and Anirudh's residence as the forensics started scanning the crime scene. It's strange, Amitabh. There are no prints in the house except that of Pallavi and Anirudh. It's a pretty clean job. The forensic officer reports to Inspector Amitabh. Inspector Amitabh, right from the outset, having analyzed the crime scene, had an inkling that this robbery cum murder in which Pallavi was killed was very different from the earlier robberies. It doesn't match the modus operandi of the robbery gang, Amitabh discusses with his team. All the earlier robberies happened at night when the residents of the flats were not at home. Here, it has happened in broad daylight. Now the forensic findings add to the difference in these crimes. No fingerprints, no footprints. The earlier robbery cases, the robbers weren't that specific about wiping out their presence. This Pallavi murder case is something else. Amitabh has sensed that Pallavi murder case was not just a case of robbery that ended up in a murder. Yet, Amitabh would have to tread carefully looking at the public sentiment, which was very much against the police force. Any other angle he would attempt to present would only result in a backlash. He knew that. He had to treat it outwardly as the handiwork of a professional gang of robbers, but on the inside, he would be investigating angles connected to Pallavi and her husband Anirudh. Amitabh's deputy has done a background check on Anirudh and Pallavi. Sir, they have been married for just 3 months, both working, hence could not take off from work for honeymoon. The day Pallavi was killed, she and Anirudh were leaving for Shimla, their honeymoon. Any past lover on either side? Any kind of acrimony between Pallavi and Anirudh? Amitabh asked his deputy. Not really, sir. I spoke to both their parents. It was an arranged marriage. Both had met and liked each other. Are you by any chance hinting at Anirudh, the husband himself, being the culprit, sir? Nothing can be ruled out, Amitabh replies. The one thing I'm sure of is that this is not a stray robbery that ended up in a murder. It definitely is personal. Are you people out of your mind? Are you trying to tell me that someone was there in Pallavi's life and that person killed Pallavi? You're making this up because you're unable to nab the real culprits, shouts Anirudh at Amitabh when he is questioned. Anirudh, I'm not making a statement. I'm asking a question. Amitabh tries to calm him down. You see, Anirudh, the killer or killers opened the cupboards, took out cash and jewelry, strangulated Pallavi. Yet at none of these places where the killer touched with his or their fingers, we found any prints. So first you asked me if there was any lover in Pallavi's life before she married. Next you would point a finger at me, say that I did this. Ask me if I had a lover before Pallavi. What nonsense is this? Do you even understand what me, Pallavi's parents, my parents are going through? Anirudh lashes out at Inspector Amitabh. Anirudh, I understand that you're in pain and distress. I am just trying to make a point to you that this entire scenario of robbery could be a created one. The clear motive could be to kill Pallavi. Amitabh explains his point of view. I was the only one in Pallavi's life, and for me she was everything. We planned so much for these 10 days in Shimla. We had been planning that since the last whole month. So much looking forward to our honeymoon. Anirudh breaks down. Inspector Amitabh is unable to carry on the questioning further. His deputy, who has been observing Anirudh, quietly remarks, "He is a broken man, sir. Not really the right time that he can think objectively." Did you observe anything suspicious in his expressions while I was talking about no other prints on the crime scene but his and Pallavi's? Amitabh asks his deputy. Not exactly anything to suggest he was scared or jittery, sir. I think we should wait for Pallavi's cremation to happen and then talk to him again. As also her parents. Right now they are all in shock. The most bizarre thing in this crime is that Pallavi was killed in the bedroom. Whoever killed her had the keys to the house. They walked right into the bedroom and killed her. The neighbors didn't hear any shout or scream for any help. Would Pallavi not have shouted? Her bags and suitcases were on the bed. She was probably packing for the trip. Why didn't she shout? Amitabh remarks, unless it was some known person. The entire crime was staged. I am sure about that. At Pallavi's cremation, the press and a lot of people have gathered. Pallavi's parents, Devnath Sen and Jayati Sen, break down. Anirudh's parents, Somnath and Geeta Das, too, are unable to hold back their tears. Anirudh, overcome by grief, is the one who lights Pallavi's pyre. There are protests all over Kolkata demanding justice for Pallavi. People are on the streets raising their voices against the inability of the administration in maintaining law and order. Meanwhile, Amitabh and his team are quietly looking at Anirudh's movements on the day of the murder of his wife Pallavi. They are at Anirudh's office talking to his colleagues. They find something that seems very mysterious to them. Anirudh had gone out of the office in the afternoon for about an hour. None of his colleagues have a clue as to where did he go for that 1 hour. Anirudh, I would like to talk to you again. We have found something. We need to discuss it with you. Amitabh has called up Anirudh. We have just cremated Pallavi. I am in no condition to come today, sir. Is it okay if I come tomorrow the first thing in the morning? Anirudh sounds very tired and broken over the phone. Fair enough, Anirudh. So 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'll be waiting for you. Amitabh replies, Sure, sir. But can you tell me what have you found? Anirudh is curious to know. I would like to talk to you face to face, Anirudh. Tomorrow 10 a.m. I'll wait for you. As Amitabh cuts the phone, his deputy is quick to react. So you think we should go over and question him about this 1 hour that he was not in the office on the day of the murder? I would want to do that, Amitabh replies. The only hindrance is that there is a lot of press there at Pallavi's house. We will draw unwanted attention and our whole purpose will be defeated. It's better we question him here. I'm sure he would have readied his answers for that 1 hour absence, but we can gauge his expressions to know if he's lying or not. 3 months old marriage. If Anirudh is the one who has killed his wife, why would he have done that? Amitabh's deputy questions. We first need to question him about that 1 hour absence from his office in the afternoon. Based on his answers is what we can probe him further. There is no gang of robbers here. That I'm sure about. Amitabh concludes. Inspector Amitabh was soon going to realize that he has made a big mistake. A mistake that would haunt him for a long time. The next day, Anirudh didn't turn up at the time he said he would be there to answer Amitabh's questions. Anirudh has run away. His parents and Pallavi's parents both have no clue where Anirudh has vanished. He left in the night. Anirudh's mother, Geeta, reveals. He didn't say where he was going. He said he'll be back in some time, but he hasn't returned. Pallavi's father is also very shocked. He's very concerned for Anirudh. Anirudh looked very sad and broken since the day my daughter was killed. Pallavi's father, Devnath, tells the cops. Even yesterday he was crying the whole day. Please find him. I'm worried for him. I hope he doesn't take any unwarranted step. He couldn't bear Pallavi's loss. Inspector Amitabh is now in a very precarious situation. The news has spread that Inspector Amitabh and his team's investigations were based around Anirudh being the main suspect in Pallavi's murder. Their visits to Anirudh's office also finds its way into the news, and the press is now holding Inspector Amitabh responsible for Anirudh's disappearance. There are stories being floated that Anirudh could have committed suicide. Grief of the loss of his wife on one side, and the police questioning him as a suspect in the murder on the other side. But it's not for long that the mystery around Anirudh's disappearance lasts. Inspector Amitabh and his team find that Anirudh has withdrawn a lot of money at an ATM in Kolkata, using both his and Pallavi's debit card. The Pallavi murder case takes a new direction now. Inspector Amitabh and his team are now sure that Anirudh definitely is behind the murder of his wife Pallavi. And very soon, the strongest proof that Anirudh indeed had killed his wife comes through. Not in any material form, but in the guise of a person walking into Inspector Amitabh's cabin, a 27-year-old woman. Anirudh is the one who has killed his wife Pallavi. The woman straightaway breaks the news to Amitabh. Who are you? And how do you know this? Amitabh questions. Sir, my name is Riddhi Agarwal. I know Anirudh well. We have known each other for 3 years now. Riddhi replies. Who is Riddhi Agarwal? A 3-year relationship with Anirudh that even Anirudh's family had no idea about. Riddhi Agarwal is the daughter, the only child of a businessman, Mahendra Agarwal. Riddhi and Anirudh met during her internship at Anirudh's company 3 years back. This was the time they dated and then fell in love. They became each other's world in no time. For Anirudh, Riddhi was his first love and a woman he felt he could never be separated from. First love is often referred to in stories and poetry as a bonding that lasts forever in a man and woman's mind, even in the most unfortunate circumstance of the relationship not going very far. In Anirudh and Riddhi's lives, the break in the relationship happened when Riddhi's father was unwilling to give his approval to their marriage. Riddhi's father never really liked Anirudh. Riddhi was aware that her relationship would have to go through trying times. She knew her father. Much against her wish, Anirudh pushed the envelope and directly approached her father to ask for a hand in marriage. Riddhi had requested him to wait for an appropriate time, but Anirudh was in a hurry. The inevitable happened. Riddhi's father refused to give his permission to the marriage and in fact came down on Anirudh in a very humiliating manner. Anirudh was also a man with a tall ego. He couldn't take the humiliation. To prove a point to Riddhi's father, Anirudh suggested to Riddhi that they run away and get married. What can your father do if you are already married? He'll be forced to accept it. Anirudh tries to convince Riddhi. No, Anirudh, I love my father and I need his blessings. Believe me, I will convince him. I will never marry the man he has chosen for me. My father will give in to what I want. We will then get married. It's just a matter of few years. Riddhi explains to Anirudh. How long, Riddhi? How long? What if your father doesn't get convinced? He hates me because I am not as rich as your family. That hate is not going to change no matter how long we wait, Riddhi. Don't be so naive. Please don't make it difficult for me, Anirudh. Riddhi pleads. I cannot hurt my father. But you can hurt me. Anirudh questions. Riddhi, I have made a decision. We get married this Sunday. I will wait for you at the temple. We'll get married, then go to my parents. They will have no objection. We will also go to your parents to seek their blessings. If they bless us, it's fine. If they don't, we start our married life. Believe me, your father will accept us one day. Anirudh is very firm on his plan. Riddhi is in a dilemma. She is torn between her love for her father and Anirudh. I'll wait for you, Riddhi. You have to make your choice clear. It's either me or your father. That Sunday, Anirudh reached the temple at the appointed time. He waited long for Riddhi. He called her, but she didn't answer his phone. He messaged her, but she didn't reply back. Anirudh was hurt. He couldn't accept that Riddhi had let him down. For him, her not turning up was nothing less than a betrayal. On a rebound, Anirudh agreed to marry the girl whose proposal his mother had brought him some time back. This was Pallavi Sen. A bright, chirpy young girl who initially wasn't really open to her parents arranging a groom for her. But once she met Anirudh, she sort of fell in love with him. His silent, brooding nature, she found that attractive. Anirudh, hurting from inside, post his breakup with Riddhi, was on a personal ego trip, sort of trying to prove a point. Pallavi unwittingly became the scapegoat in this, not knowing that behind this entire charming facade of Anirudh lay a man, wooing her only on the rebound. Pallavi never knew of Riddhi Agarwal. She was happy to get married to Anirudh. Pallavi could never read Anirudh's heart and mind. On the surface, he was nice with her, but deep inside, he was pining for Riddhi. Very soon after their marriage, Anirudh realized that he had made a mistake. He was desperate to meet Riddhi, who now had completely cut off with him. Anirudh wasn't happy with Pallavi and wanted to get back to Riddhi. Unknown to Pallavi, Anirudh kept chasing Riddhi despite Riddhi's pleas that now being a married man he should be faithful to Pallavi. I'm sorry, Anirudh. I wish you the best in life. I didn't force you into this marriage with Pallavi. And now, you can't just keep coming back into my life. I'm not willing to have any relationship with you anymore. Riddhi, though she agrees to meet Anirudh, is firm that there cannot be anything between them anymore. For Riddhi, it was a relationship, a bond that had severed itself from its roots the day Anirudh decided to marry Pallavi. Anirudh had sent the wedding invitation to Riddhi in a bid to spite her, but Riddhi swallowed the hurt and took it as destiny that she and Anirudh couldn't be together anymore. The same wasn't the case with Anirudh. He wanted her back at any cost. I made a mistake, Riddhi. A mistake I regret now. I was impulsive and angry. I love you, Riddhi. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. Please don't punish me. Anirudh pleads. Anirudh, it's not me who's hurting you. You hurt me then and now you're hurting Pallavi. She's your wife, damn it. You cannot betray her like this. Please understand. Whatever was between you and me is a past. It cannot be the same anymore. You crossed the line. You went ahead and got married, only to hurt me. There is Pallavi now, Anirudh. You need to forget me. Riddhi makes her stand clear. What if I divorce her, Riddhi? The problem will be solved. I am willing to wait till the time your father agrees. Please, Riddhi. You can't be so cruel to me. We have been in love for 3 years now. Can you really see a life without me? Anirudh makes an emotional appeal. I loved only you, Anirudh. I saw my life with you. I saw it all crumble when you sent your wedding invitation. Anirudh, I don't want to hurt Pallavi and marry you. What will you tell her, Anirudh? That you are sorry? She was just a scapegoat to vent your anger on me? No, Anirudh. With Pallavi having entered your life, there is no more any space for me. Riddhi's stand that there can be nothing between them anymore since now there is Pallavi in his life, somewhere started throwing up a different connotation of the issue in Anirudh's mind. He now started seeing Pallavi as the biggest hindrance between him and Riddhi. The thought of Pallavi being a hurdle soon progressed to Anirudh seeing her as the biggest stumbling block to the rekindling of his relationship with Riddhi. Very soon, his mind started thinking of ways of how to get Pallavi out of the way. Carefully studying the several robberies that had happened in the vicinity of his flat in the last 1 month, Anirudh worked upon the plan of Pallavi's murder. He had been plotting that for over 3 weeks. As a cover to his crime, he had planned the honeymoon with Pallavi, with the plot of killing her on that day. Very cleverly, Anirudh crept out of his office in the afternoon. He reached up to his flat, killed Pallavi, created the entire scenario at his flat of a robbery having occurred, and then Anirudh slipped back into his office, unseen by anyone. Very normally, he bid goodbye to everyone in the office in the evening, reached his home, and acted out the shocked husband who found his wife dead in the house. Riddhi has come to meet Inspector Amitabh Mukherjee to tell the truth. On the night that Anirudh escaped from Kolkata, after being called for questioning, he reached Patna by train and from a public telephone called Riddhi.
Pallavi is out of the way, Riddhi. We can now be together. Please don't say no. You said no once and it turned out to be not so happy for both of us. I'm in Patna waiting for you. Please come. Let's run away forever now.
Cried out Anirudh over the phone. Riddhi was shocked. What do you mean Pallavi is out of the way? Did you kill her? Riddhi had read about Pallavi's murder in the papers and saw the news coverage of the crime. She was feeling sorry for Pallavi and Anirudh. She believed that it was truly a case of robbery cum murder. Not in her wildest imagination could she think that Anirudh would have killed Pallavi for her sake. And now, he was confessing the crime to her and also telling her that he did it for her. Riddhi is shocked, upset and angry. How dare you say that you killed Pallavi for my sake? How could you do this? Screams Riddhi over the phone.
You yourself said we can't be together as long as Pallavi is there, Riddhi. Didn't you say that?
Pleads Anirudh. How could you take that in this manner? What I meant was Pallavi is your wife. You need to find life with her, Anirudh. Cries Riddhi.
How could I find life with someone else when my life is with you, Riddhi? Please come. Don't say no. Pallavi is gone. It's all destiny. We are destined to be together.
How dare you think I will agree to anything like this after knowing that you killed an innocent woman, Anirudh? Riddhi shouts at him. Surrender to the police, Anirudh. Accept your crime. If you don't, I am going to the police.
You can't do this to me, Riddhi. After all that I've done for you, will you give me up like this? I love you, Riddhi. Please, please don't betray me again.
Cries Anirudh. Riddhi disconnects the call. Anirudh cannot believe that Riddhi has left him high and dry once again. In his mind, in his heart, there is no sense of guilt of what he has done, but only a feeling of having been betrayed by the woman he loves so much. He sees himself as being the wronged one rather than any wrong that he has done. There are these kind of people in life you must have met or known or even heard of. People who see themselves as victims in every situation, even if the situation is a creation of their own. They only feel that others have wronged them while they have only followed their heart. Anirudh was one such person. But then, probably destiny, or you can call it quirk of fate, had charted a different trajectory in this love story of Anirudh Das. Wallowing in selfish victim syndrome, Anirudh walked away from the telephone booth, wandering aimlessly, cursing Riddhi for letting him down. The enormity of the crime he had committed did weigh on his mind, but only a little. Betrayal. That was the emotion playing up the most inside him. Betrayal by Riddhi. With Riddhi coming to the police with a sense of righteousness and telling the truth about Pallavi's murder, the cops now spread out to nab the culprit, Anirudh Das. He had called from Patna. The Patna police is alerted and a manhunt is launched for Anirudh Das. Inspector Amitabh Mukherjee curses himself for having just called Anirudh Das for questioning and not picking him up, despite having every doubt that Anirudh was the killer. It's a very frustrating situation for a cop when he has detected a crime but let the culprit escape. With the truth out in the case of Pallavi's murder, the press too has started singing a different tune. It's now at the doorstep of Anirudh's parents' house, accusing them of shielding Anirudh, the killer, seeking answers from them. Justice for Pallavi now assumes a different dimension, away from the hounding of the cops about the several robberies. Riddhi, though an innocent spectator in this macabre plot of Anirudh, but being the person for whom he had killed Pallavi, despite the fact that she herself came to the police and chose to expose the truth, becomes targeted, being painted as a woman because of whom Pallavi lost her life. Anirudh's parents, Somnath Das and Geeta Das, having no role to play in their son's crime, are being looked at as accomplices who let their son escape and are protecting them. Devnath Sen and Jayati Sen, Pallavi's parents, unable to bear the grief of losing their only child, are now saddled with a harsh truth that the man they thought she would be living her life with is her killer. They blame themselves for having made the mistake of never checking Anirudh's background, his past with Riddhi. Inspector Amitabh Mukherjee, for him catching Anirudh Das is not just about bringing a criminal to book, it's a personal incompletion he needs to fill in. Justice for Pallavi also meant correcting his failure to nab the culprit when he was at an arm's distance. But will Anirudh Das be caught? As he wanders in his incompletion of yet not seeing a life with Riddhi, will destiny play a spoilsport to the court? Crime doesn't pay,